Hello everyone, welcome to Papercrafting Playdate. My name is Robin Armbrecht at Really Robin Stamps, and you are joining me today on September 3rd, 2022. Welcome to September. Here it is, whether we're ready or not. The start of the fall season is upon us. I'm so glad that you are thinking about learning something about paper in a project. So the project I have for you today is a paper technique called Stack, Cut, and Shuffle. You've probably seen it before. And I used this technique last week when I made a bunch of swaps to share with other demonstrators. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to show you this technique and show you what my swap looked like. And I hope you enjoy it. It's a great way to make multiple cards. So let's switch over to my table. And okay, here we go. Let me tighten up the camera. How is everybody doing? Today is actually Saturday and not a Friday. I usually go live on Fridays. And this week was just so very busy. So very busy and kind of momentous. Let's see, we got this in the corner over here. And I might zoom in just a little bit. Okay. Let's try. Oh boy. So not good at zooming. All right, let's try this. Let's try this. We'll see how this works. All right, good morning, everyone. Let me find you and say hi. So this week's been kind of momentous because my husband retired, and we had a party for him. And it's also momentous because I got to hang out with some stamping friends this week. We had an actual in-party workshop. And just a shout out to my friends Sandy and Jerry and Jill and Norma. Thank you so much for having a party at your house. It was amazing. We had so much fun. We hadn't been together, it felt like, in years, and we had a blast. And nobody wanted to leave. So, gosh, that tells me a lot, right? We need to get back to doing what we like to do together, right? It's fun to be able to, it's great to be able to have videos and learn from videos, but it's also really amazing when you're actually together. So I am trying to find, there we go. Okay, we're all set. So I have a few cards to show you first. And let me see who's saying hi. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Judy. Hi, Tiffany and Wanda, Lolita. Hi, Carol, Tamara. Hello. Lori, I never catch you guys on Fridays. How fun. Hi, Carol. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Nydia. Great. Thank you for showing up for me this morning. I've only had 2 sips of coffee. You have no idea that I don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth or my hands today, right? All right, so this is the card I made for my husband, for his, I keep wanting to call it a graduation. I know it's not, but it feels like a graduation. It's a retirement. Okay, this is the card I made him. Hi, Penny. Hi, Sue. And I did one of those card within a card cards, and the theme that we had for his party was aloha, and my daughter came up with that, and she did the decoration. She planned the whole thing for him, which was just so sweet. And so we thought it was kind of a nice theme for retirement because, you know, aloha means hello and goodbye. And he's retiring from one job, but he's going to be starting another job. So I thought that was kind of perfect. He's hello to a new job and goodbye to the old one, but the old one he had for 30 years, so it was pretty momentous. So I had to pull out this set that just recently retired, but then I used this beautiful fern 3D folder, which I actually, after I had stamped my card and then I ran it through the folder, I did it upside down. And so my ferns are actually like sticking out. They're actually debossed on this side and they're embossed on the side I had to glue down. But you know what? I thought it turned out okay. And then put the little inside like that. So that was his card. And then I've received a bunch of cards in the mail that I want to share. I got an amazing thank you card from Patricia. And she also did that embossing technique, and she did it over her strips of designer series paper. And I love how that comes together, that quilted look. It looks like a bedspread. So pretty. Thank you, Patricia. And with that cute little butterfly on there, because she knows I love the butterflies. Look at this great thank you card. This is a fun technique, which I haven't done yet, but you cut your paper and then you flip 2 of the triangles to make just such a stunning card front. So isn't that beautiful? Okay, and this one's from Jill. Love this layout, the nice little square and little patterns coordinating together like that. So beautiful. I love the berries. Look at this amazingness. I got this card today from my friend Claudia, and she used all those delicious in colors, and she's actually inspired something we're doing today. So I had to show you the inspiration card. So pretty, right? And then a big shout out to Lynn from Australia. You see her comments sometimes on YouTube. She's such a delightful friend, and she sent me this card because we had our 1-year friend anniversary, which is so sweet. And she made, I don't even know what this is called. I think she told me, but I've forgotten right now because I haven't had enough coffee. But isn't this amazing? Look at that. I'm gonna have to learn how to do that. So much fun. Little slide pop up, I bet, something like that. Have you guys made anything like this? That's amazing. Amazing. All right. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna show you how I made my swaps and how I made so many. I'm gonna move this back up here because I want all the space. So here's what you need for this technique. So if you're watching this on the replay, you can stop the video right now and go cut yourself some pieces of paper because you don't want to miss it. And you can cut along with me, okay? So here's what you need. You need 4 card bases. You need 4 trimmed quarters, which are 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then you need 4 pieces of either other cardstock or designer series paper. It doesn't really matter. So I've got 2 designer series paper and 2 pieces of cardstock. And those are measuring 3 3/4 by 5. So they are just an increment smaller than these. Okay, so it's all gonna kind of layer together on the card front. All right, so just to review, card base is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. The matte layer is 4 by 5 1/4. And all of these pieces are 3 3/4 by 5. All right, so I'm gonna take those out of the view. All right, so on your 4 pieces, you're going to make cuts on these at the same time. We've done this before, but this is a different pattern. I just realized I printed the pattern, but I left it downstairs. So you're gonna have to, you're just gonna have to look it up on it'll be on the blog post later on today, but I have the pattern so you can see the visual. And one of the pieces of cardstock, I went ahead and I embossed with the Timeless Type embossing folder. And I did that already to save us a little bit of time. But one of the other pieces of cardstock I'm going to stamp on. And so I picked these colors because I had decided I'm going to use this Apple Harvest stamp set. And I really wanted to practice coloring this apple for my swaps. So I'm picking another image, and I'm choosing this one to be actually a background for this piece. And I'm going to stamp in real red ink on real red cardstock just to get a nice little subtle background. I'm trying not to overlap them, but I'm trying to go off the edge. So I'm just taking my time to figure out and make sure that kind of all those edges have something going off of them. Okay, so I made a background on that one. I'll put red away. So these are going to be my pieces, and you just want your 4 pieces, whatever they are, to coordinate together. So now you're going to cut them. And so here's where it's called stack, because the technique requires you to stack them together. And then you're going to cut them, and then we're going to shuffle them. So this is a super easy design. So I think I looked it up on my Papercrafting Playdate that's labeled number 33. I did this technique before, and I called it patchwork stack and cut because it looked a little bit to me more like a quilt. That one has a different pattern. So this is actually pattern number 2 that I'm showing you. And so the measurement is, if you've got a paper cutter with the measurements that going off in both directions, I'm actually putting this way to the right at 1 1/4 inches. But if you're measuring this way, it's at 2 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to do a strip right here. And then I'm going to turn everything, stack it back up, and I'm going to cut again at 1 1/4. And I'm going to see if I can just do it at the same time. So I'll put those all back together. And now we're going to cut again at 1 1/4. So basically, you're cutting like the strip off the long side and then a strip off the bottom. Okay, let's move this off of the paper cutter. So now I have 4 piles. And they're all stacked the same way. Okay, you guys have probably done this before. It's just such a great way to make a nice little background. So now what you're going to do is you're going to just shuffle these around. Hi, Julie. Hi, Polly. Who else is? Hi, Michelle. Hi, Sandy. Welcome. It's morning. Oh my goodness. Has everybody had their coffee yet? I'm just diving into mine a little bit, and I should just take a big gulp. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to shuffle now. Okay, so we're going to leave the big one alone. So we're going to kind of work clockwise around. We're going to go to this one, and we're going to shuffle once. Then we're going to go down here, and we're going to shuffle twice. 1, 2, and then we're going to go to this one, and we're going to shuffle 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So that you have, when you're done with this, each pile is in a different order, and you can just grab from the top pile and put your card base together. Okay, so let me just slide this over, and we're going to put them right on our basic white. Okay, so this is the fun part, and this is the part that when you get this all prepared ahead of time, it's kind of fun to just sit and put these things together. Now I am putting this on a piece that is going to be also a matte layer, and so I'm thinking about my spacing when I'm putting these down. And I'm using liquid glue so that if I don't like how I put it down, I can kind of pull it up a little bit easier and just wiggle it around. The way around that is, of course, to cut a piece. And I like to use copy paper or printer paper. Just cut a piece that is the exact same size as these, which would be 3 3/4 by 5. And then this step right here, you would glue onto copy paper first. And then if things were crooked or off, you know, off a little bit, you could trim around the edges, and then you could put it right onto your matte layer. I'm going to skip that step this time. Okay, so then we go to the next one and we just take, again, the top piece from every pile. And in my head, I'm just kind of taking these in the same order, more or less, so that I don't forget what I'm doing or which pile I'm on. So you can do this technique and you can make as many cuts as you want in your paper, but you have to have as many pieces of paper as how many chunks that you want left. They won't always necessarily be squares or rectangles. It kind of depends. You can cut these at angles as well. So you'll have to just do the math ahead of time and figure out, okay, I've got 5 pieces of paper. That means in the end, I have to make enough cuts so that I have 5 chunks. Does that make sense? Okay, this is where I always wish I could just turn on the volume and I could hear everyone's comments, right? Wouldn't that be amazing to just have? I bet someday, we're not far away from that, I bet. Someday you'll be able to just, you know, there'll be some kind of system that like sorts everybody's comments into order and you can hear what people have to say. I mean, you can read it, but it's, you know, it's hard when you're doing that. Hello, Faye. Good morning. Oh, you were reorganizing your stamp space. That is a good thing to do on a Saturday morning. I hope it's a beautiful day by you. What else is everybody up to this Labor Day weekend? Do you have anything fun that you get to go do? Do you have any housework? Is this when you kind of do some fall cleaning? What do you do on Labor Day weekend? Okay, so these bases are done. See how fast that went together, and look how fun they are. I love those colors. So now I'm going to attach them to my card bases and we'll just get that out of the way. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the focal point and making little clusters for focal points. We kind of started that conversation on my last Papercrafting Playdate. I was giving some tips for when you make a little focal point. And I've just been kind of thinking about it even more since then, because there is kind of a little bit of a formula to it and things that you can think about, elements that you can have ready when you just feel like you need something a little bit extra to make that focal point really pop. I see lots of you are organizing. Hi, Joan. Nice to have you joining us. These are happy colors, Judy. I agree. They make me very happy. And I was first thinking like I wanted a darker green, because this would also be great colors for Christmas if you can just like not think of apples right now and think about some Christmas. Having just that little bit of minty green with red and pink, it's just a nice little alternative for Christmas. Okay, so now what I've done is I've stamped the apple from this Apple Harvest stamp set, and I cut it out with the dies. And I'll tell you, this just started on Friday. Wait, Thursday. What day is it today? The 3rd. There's a Perfect Partners promotion. This is a promotion that is kind of fun. So the stamp sets that you can kind of see here, these are either in the annual catalog or in the holiday catalog, or the July to December catalog already. These stamp sets were already in the catalogs, but they didn't have dies that coordinated with them. So what is new about this are the dies, and the dies are available now until they run out or till the end of September. So it's a limited time to get the dies. So I definitely picked the Apple Blossom dies to go with this Apple Harvest because I thought that was a great fall set. But you can see there's all kinds of different stamp sets that, you know, have these now huge die sets. I would like to see somebody, I would like to watch somebody make this waterfall canyon card with all those dies. I don't want to do it myself, but I would love to watch somebody put that together one time. Wouldn't that be just fun to see all those, how those pieces go together? All right, so I already cut out my apples, and let's spend a minute coloring them. And so I think I forgot to tell you that my card base is actually Sweet Sorbet, even though I used real red. And I just wanted to point out how that like really bridges the gap between the Blushing Bride and the real red and the Sweet Sorbet. They all go together. So those are the colors I also picked to color my apple. I threw in Flirty Flamingo, the light one, because I want to leave a little bit of a lighter spot where the light's touching the apple. So I'm going to do that part first. And then I'm going to take the light Sweet Sorbet and I'm going to just color it in all around. And I'm not going to color over all of that Flirty Flamingo. I'm just going to leave a spot. Now, my good friend Sue Sheet, she's watching here. She is the sweetest person in the world because she called me the day before I was leaving to go to the backstage convention where I just went with a bunch of other demonstrators. And she said, "Are you swapping?" And I said, well, I wasn't going to swap because I really didn't have time to make swaps. And then I realized that one whole like the very first evening's activity was called Swaps and Sweets. It was what Stampin' Up! Was having us do on the very first evening so we could get to know each other. And since I wasn't going with anybody, I thought, well, that's silly. How can I show up at this event and not have any swaps to make or to share? Like, that's just going to make it a little bit more difficult to start conversations with complete strangers, right? So anyway, I made some swaps. All right, so now that I've kind of put the darker Sweet Sorbet around the outside over the light, I'm going to go back with my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm just going to rub it a little bit or more around the edges, and it's going to lighten that red. and it'll just kind of allow it to look, I don't know, what's that apple? Is it a pink lady that has the really pretty like reds and pinks in it? Okay, so now I'm gonna just do the stem with some crumb cake, and then I'll do the leaves with the mint so that I can match my card front. Anyway, to finish my story about Sue, she said, well, I'm gonna be in Springfield. How about I come and help you? And that was just the greatest gift of somebody's time ever. It was so sweet because I, like my stamping friends I talked about in the beginning, that we just had a workshop this week. I haven't seen Sue in a couple years either, and it was just delightful to sit across the table from somebody and make things. And she helped me put all these crazy cards together. So Sue, I'm still so happy about that day. It just was delightful. Okay, so that's how I colored my apples. And now let's just talk a little bit about a focal point cluster, okay? You can take this apple and you can literally just plop it on there. It's super cute. It's right. It's really cute. You can just do that, add a little greeting. It's fine. But if you want to just make it a little bit extra special, think about these 4 things. Think about the kind of the base layer. Then think about what the focal image is. Think about where the greeting's going, and then add accent pieces and embellishment. So there's really 4 things. So vellum is something you can always use to be a layering piece or an accent with your focal point. So I'm going to take this decorative circle punch, and I'm going to attach it right to the card base. Now this design of the stack, cut, and shuffle is lovely because your focal point goes right there where they all meet together. There's no like, you don't have to think about it. You just know whatever you're gonna do as your focal point is gonna go right there. So I'm gonna center this. I'm just kind of looking at where those little they're not really scallops, but where they're rounded, I'm just making sure they're even. All right, so that's gonna go right there. The apple's gonna go there. Now I need a greeting. And so what I did was I took this long piece here, but I didn't really want a long greeting. And so I cut this out of white, and let me show you, here's what it looks like. But I cut it in half, and then I just flipped it around so that I would have 2 that were kind of short, because I really just wanted my greeting to kind of stick out of the side. And then I took all of these lovely leaves and the flowers, and there were a lot of them. So this was very nice when I was making swaps, so that I could have a ton of little flowers and leaves to play with. And so here are my leaves and flowers. So let's see, what did I say? We've got a layering piece. We've got our focal point, which is really the apple and the hello. And then you want accent pieces, and then you want embellishment. So I'm going to add some of the black and white gingham ribbon to be kind of an accent embellishment. And that's going to stick out just a little bit with the greeting. And under the apple. So I'm just going to follow the line here of the card. And then we'll stick our hello right there. Okay, and then we're going to pop up the apple. Let's make sure that's laying down. And then we'll stick the apple right in the middle. So you can see the vellum, it doesn't really add a whole lot, but it connects all of the little things that we're going to add to this focal point. So when I go to add the flowers and the leaves, they kind of have just a little bit of resting place along the edge of that vellum. So that's kind of what I mean about a focal point cluster, is that you just kind of have a bunch of little things that go together. And to finish it off, we'll add some red rhinestones on our flowers to make them pop. Like that. And I already put these together like that, so we wouldn't have to watch me do that all day. So I'm going to add those really quickly. Okay. I'm going to come back and secure those and add the flowers, but you get the idea. All right, so this is what I mean by a little focal point cluster and the elements that kind of go into it. You need a layering piece, you need your focal point, you need the accent pieces, and then something to embellish it with. Okay. And Miss Sue helped me make 50 of these. Amazing, right? And did I keep one? I didn't even keep one for myself. So I'm gonna put, I like 3, so I'm gonna put 3 there. So that's our stack and cut and shuffle technique with our focal point. Okay. All right, so I kind of wanted to talk about more little layering pieces and just things that you could do for these little focal points. So let's stack these up here and let's bring out another set. And I've already done that technique, but I changed it up a little bit in that I left some of the cardstock showing through. So you can see that I separated the pieces and how that makes it look a little bit different. Here I pushed them all together. Here I separated them. So you've got some different choices when you do this technique. So let's look at the bundle that this goes with. This is the Cottage Rose bundle. This is in the annual catalog, and it's actually going to be one of the bundles that gets used for World Card Making Day on October 1st. So if you don't have this already, it could be one that you might want to get to participate in that day. If you haven't heard about World Card Making Day, it sounds like it's going to be very fun. Stampin' Up! Is going to have a free online virtual event where you can just come and watch, or you can stamp along. They will tell you the pieces that you need, And you can either get the bundles that they're going to showcase, or you can use whatever you have, and you just get to kind of have this virtual experience. So however you want to participate in it, I encourage you to. And there's a registration link in lots of different places. It's on my Facebook page. It's in my newsletter that is coming out later today. So you can register and then you'll get updates, and that's how you're going to know, because this is going to come directly from Stampin' Up! If you buy any of these bundles before World Card Making Day, up until I think like September, oh, I don't see the information on here. It's sometime in the mid-September. You also get a free package of the Iridescent Pearls Basic Jewels. So that's kind of cool. This bundle right here is going to be in the next mini catalog that starts in January. So it's kind of like a sneak peek set, and it's a little door that's open. It's like a great set for making welcome to the neighborhood cards. And I have to get it because there's this cute little kitty cat right there. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. So I don't have it yet. Anyway, so let's think about how we can make a little cluster with these pieces. And so this stamp set's very, Stamp and Die set's different. It doesn't have any focal point like shapes or like labels. It has flowers. So I was thinking about, well, what could I do for that? And I was looking at this piece right here and just thinking about how this shape right here would make a really great layering piece for a circle. And so I used my Stylish Shapes dies, and I cut out a circle that was just a little bit smaller than this flower, so that, where did it go? There it is. So that I would still see the flower behind it, but you could tell it was a flower, but yet it was really, it's going to be all about the little focal point. So this is, let's not do it upside down. Okay. This is Crumb Cake for the base, and this is Very Vanilla. And then I have Petal Pink, and then 3 pieces of Designer Series paper. And for my Stack, Cut, and Shuffle, I embossed this with the gingham check, just like I had embossed this piece. And then, like I said, instead of making them touch, I separated them, and you can see the margin. It's the same exact size. So this vanilla piece of paper is 4 inches by 5 1/4, just like this piece is. But the margin that I have around the papers is going to be a little bit smaller when you separate them. So this has the exact same size papers. It's just how those are glued on. And so we're going to stamp our greeting. We're going to choose Early Espresso. For the best wishes. And so I'm going to layer these pieces together. This is going to be the little cluster. And I thought it would be fun to take this and make it a little more texture and crumple it up. So I'm going to spray this on the back and just let that water soak in just a little bit. And then I'm going to crumple it. Now I stamped this in Early Espresso ink, so I could stamp it on, or I'm sorry, I could spray it and spritz it with water on the other side, but it would also make that ink bleed, which is actually kind of pretty. It just kind of depends on the effect that you want. So I'm going to get it nice and crumpled and then open it up and kind of lay it back out like that. So that's going to be our layering piece. And then I loved this leaf in a different color, so I want to layer that on too, but now it looks very flat next to that beautiful crumpled layer. So I'm going to use the bone folder and just give it a little bit of a curl. So it'll be not quite as crumpled, but it'll have more texture to it, have some wrinkles and some curls in it. And then our focal point's going to sit right on the top. This is just a little bit damp, and so I'm going to go ahead and put it on the card. It'll eventually dry. Now I'm doing this upside down because you're not going to be able to tell the flowers upside down, and I want all of this beautiful floral leaves over here to kind of hang over this part. Remember, anywhere that these two, all these four papers meet, that is where you're going to put your focal point. I'm just going to press it down right in the middle and leave the rest of it kind of crazy and crumpled. And then we'll add our leaf sticking out. I'm going to put it right in between these two leaves here. Okay, while that's drying, we'll get this popped up. But I want to add another layer of texture. And so I'm going to use the linen thread. And we're going to create one of those little ribbon nests. So I like to wrap my ribbon like 3 times around 2 fingers. And that's usually about enough unless you've got a very big focal point space. I'm going to stick a glue dot here. We'll see if 1's enough. I'm going to start with 1. And we're just going to like push it down, set it down, find those ends that are sticking out, and just put the end back on that glue dot. Okay, so this one actually laid on there. I'm just going to pull it off. So I know it looks like, it always looks like it's planned so nicely, but you have a lot of control with these little loops. You just kind of put them where you want them to go and make them all stick on that glue dot. And then if you feel like you need another one, you can add another one and just add them. All right, stick there. Okay, so that's pretty much hanging out pretty well, but let's check it with our little, we want to make sure it's coming outside. Okay, so let's move another one out a little bit more on 2 sides, and then some of those loops will be a little bit longer. Okay. So we have our layering piece, we have our little focal image is the greeting, and then we have our accent, and now we're going to add some embellishing to it. Here are the elegant faceted gems, and I love this pink one with this beautiful petal pink, and so we'll put a couple of those in there. Okay, so here are the friends. All made the same way. So it's a great way to, give gifts, right? Or it's just a great way to make the same card over and over again. So I played with an idea. I wanted to see what would happen if I used this linen paper for one of the layers, So this is the linen specialty paper. It's in the Maine annual catalog. And I wanted to just see like, oh, what would it, you know, how would it turn out? So I hadn't really played with it before. And so I'm not gonna make a whole card with you, but I'm gonna show you what I did. So I'm using early espresso. And again, I'm just trying to stamp the flowers, not necessarily make them overlap, but cover all the edges. Like that. So that's pretty, I thought. And then I took the blending brushes. I haven't tried to color on this, so if you've actually used this before and you've colored on the linen paper, please comment if that's worked out. I'm curious. I haven't had time to play with it yet. So I'm just making this kind of look antique-y. So I'm doing the crumb cake right on top of the flowers. And then, oops, I forgot one. In between, I'm going to use the petal pink, just kind of thinking with the theme of this paper here. Hi, Susie. Okay, so you see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of putting the pink in between the flowers. The flowers are brown. Just kind of gives it just a nice little soft fabric look. You can do more, obviously. What I didn't realize about the linen paper, and maybe you hadn't either, is that it has an adhesive back to it, so it's already sticky. And so what I did was I just cut this the same way as my stack, cut, and shuffle, but I just used one piece. So I cut 1 1/4, and then I cut 1 1/4, and then I put it on very vanilla. So you can see when it has that white backing, how white it is, but it's, you know, partially, whatever you put the linen paper on is going to pick up some of the color from whatever paper, because you can kind of see through it. What's that word? Translucent. So on the vanilla, it looks like that. And then I used that little stamp set that has stitches, and I just stamped over it to make it look like it was stitched. So much fun. So I encourage you to try the linen paper. And in fact, I didn't even know, I truly did not know this until I printed off the weekly deals for this week, and the linen paper is on sale for $4.80. You get 2 pieces of 12 by 12. So this is, if you've ever thought you want to try it, this week is when you can put add that to your order. So this is a version with linen paper. Okay, so let's talk about another focal point style. Let's put these little friends out of the way here. Okay, so here is my stack, cut, and shuffle. And I used the Texture Chic Designer Series paper for 2 of my layers. And then I used a piece of Pool Party, and I used a piece of the Craft cardstock because I wanted to just add that little bit of rough element in there. And here is how it looks if you first attach your after you've cut and shuffled and you go to attach these, instead of putting them right onto the matte layer, if you want to put it on paper first. So this is just copy paper because I wanted to make sure that it was straight, and so I tried it, and it is very handy. It makes you feel very secure to have that on the back, and then you can just glue it right onto your paper. The reason I did it for this card is because this stack, cut, and shuffle technique really is perfect for also kind of quilting the whole thing. So that's what we're going to do with this one. Let me bring in Mrs. Cut Boss. So I thought it would be nice to use kind of an earthy embossing folder instead of one that actually looked like quilt, because I'm not really, just not looking like a quilt exactly. I just want it to be embossed. And so I picked out the Timber 3D folder, and I'm going to have those lines going this way. So this is a great reason to have that copy paper, because then you can quilt the whole thing or emboss the whole thing before you add it to that layer, that matte layer. Okay, let me take that away. Okay, so here is our, how it looks when it just has texture that goes through all of it. It really connects all of those pieces together. So we're going to glue that. I made this matte layer a little bit smaller because I wanted more of the card base to show. And so I trimmed this one. I don't remember. I trimmed this one 3 7/8, so it's just an 1/8 bigger than the 3 3/4. And that way more of the card base would show with this beautiful dark green. Do it this way. So this is Evening Evergreen card base with soft succulent as that matte layer, and then these beautiful texture chic papers. So our layering piece, when I'm looking at this bundle here, really could be lots of things, but this is kind of an obvious little piece that you can cut out for a layering piece, and so that's what I did, and I used the Distressed Gold specialty paper. So this is going to be the base for the focal image. We'll just get it laid down mostly. And the greetings in this stamp set are long. And so I knew instead of the orientation of my card being this way, I was going to want it to go horizontally. And so I picked the thanks. And then I found this lovely stylish shape here in banner form. So there's the greeting. So that's going to be the focal point on the layering. And then we need our accents. And so I cut a leaf out of each of the colors that I pulled out of this paper. All kinds of leaves here. You might see the stamp set and go immediately to the seashells here, which I think that's what my brain did. But then when I started playing with this, I thought this was a very useful combination of images, because not only do you get 3 beautiful background images, and this is the one I used to make It's just stamped tone on tone on this piece of Pool Party. But you also get kind of all the seasons. You get some shells, you get flowers, and you get leaves. And so it's really nice. It's a great kind of all around the year kind of stamp set. So this will be popped up, and then we'll tuck all those leaves behind. I like to secure the little accent pieces not 100% down, leaving a little bit of the edges so that it just gives a little bit of texture. So I put most of the glue just down the stem of that leaf, but then the little edges are going to be loose so that it'll just give it a little bit more of dimension. Okay, so there's our leaves. There are our accents. Again, you could add a little piece of ribbon right under there. Just think of the little things you can add. And then we'll actually add some little gold embellishment dots. Get that putty centered on there. If you ever get too much putty, you can just kind of push it down so that it kind of even goes over the little edge of the tip, and it works a little bit better until it doesn't stick anymore, and then just roll up some new. We'll add 3. Okay, so there's just a different version, a different way to think about the same kind of process and the same elements of putting together that focal point to show some different papers. Okay, there's our set with all 4. It's kind of fun to make cards in sets of 4. And what if you took one from every set and put them together as gifts? Then you would give somebody like all different kinds of cards, right? Okay, what do you think? I hope you're not bored because we're doing this again. We're going to go back to fall because it's coming. So here's my card base. I just really played with these papers this week because I just couldn't look at them ahead of time. I wasn't ready, but now I'm ready. I can look at them. I'm not ready to buy the pumpkin to put on my front porch yet, but the mums are out. I don't know if they are where you live, but all the mums are at the store. I haven't seen a pumpkin yet, but oh my goodness. It just always happens faster than I'm ready. And look at the backs. They're all black and white, but they're black and white like chalkboard. They look like chalk drawings. Very pretty. All right, so Cindy, you're so sweet. Thank you, Wendy. So these are called Rustic Harvest papers, and they coordinate with the Hello Harvest bundle. And so there are these fun things to use. And look at these pumpkins. I had to actually cut these out for you because it's magic. So let's do that really quickly. So we're going to take this pumpkin and we're going to make it Cajun Craze. It's going to have all that yummy texture on there. And then we're going to take some mossy what's it called? Mellow moss. I would keep wanting to call it mellow moss. Am I the only one? I can't. It's not mellow moss. It's mossy meadow. And we'll take, there's 3 different little vines in this die set, and they're all perfect. Okay, slide all this off. Lift these off. My acrylic plate is about to be replaced, so it has a lot of rough texture on it and things like to stick. Okay, so here's our stack, cut, and shuffle. Oh, they all popped out. How lovely. Okay. Look at that pumpkin. I just want to do that all day long. And then I love that this stem was created with this little rounded part that just gives you enough room to glue it right behind. It's like somebody had their thinking caps on when they created this, thinking about how easy that would be to put on there. Thank you whoever did. All right, this pumpkin doesn't need a single thing, right? It's so cute. I would like to wear it as a pin. It's so cute. But people don't wear pins anymore. Have you noticed that? Like, there was a phase of life where we just had pins on all the time. Does anybody still wear pins? And could you please bring that back? Because I loved wearing pins. Okay, so here's our layer. So I just cut out, since we kind of have this black and white paper theme, I cut out a circle. So that's going to be the layering piece. And then this is also from Stylish Shapes, and so is this little banner. So I did the little banner. So we've got a little hello. And what else do we need? We need some ribbon. So we're going to bring back our very best friend, the black and white gingham ribbon, and we're going to give it a little color. With our mossy meadow. That way it'll all coordinate together. So I only need about 4 inches of that to make a knot. Okay, so let's layer this together. We've got all our elements. Sorry, Judy. Judy says, another set I need. Okay, so then we're going to pop up the greeting part. We'll let the pumpkin just kind of lay on our layer there, but we'll pop up the greeting. And I'm going to just make sure I keep it straight with that, the lines in my, that are already there. And then we'll add the vines. Instead of putting them by the stem, I'm just going to put them underneath my greeting. But you could put them anywhere you wanted. They're so cute. So let me tell you what's a little bit different about this particular stack, cut, and shuffle that I did. Let's see if we can compare it. So on this one, you can see that there's very small matte layer of black, and then there's just a tiny bit of my card base that you can see. And so what I did differently here is instead of making my designer series paper pieces, those 4 pieces that you choose, instead of making them 3 3/4 by 5, I made them 4 by 5 1/4. So I was just thinking about, you know, how sometimes you like to cut that designer series paper and just get the most out of it, so you're not left over with strips. So if you like to cut in 4-inch strips, this is a version you can also do. And then what I did differently is that instead of making the first cut at 1 1/4, I made it at 1 1/2 and then 1 1/2 inches. So the sections are a little bit wider than they are. So you've got a lot of variation that you can do with this very, very simple pattern. And I think that's why I wanted to show you so many samples, is because it is the same thing over and over again, but every time you create a little different of a focal point, or you kind of just change up the layers on your paper, it really makes a big difference. So let's put our ribbon up here on the stem. So we've got lots of embellishments, and I also think we need to add some of these white ones. On the pumpkin. It's just going to give a little pop of white because we have a lot of dark going, so that'll kind of help your eyes there. Okay, what do you think of our pumpkin guy? Here's his friends. Here I got brave and I flipped some of the designer series papers over so that you could get, if you choose all designer series paper, this is the first set, first stack cut and shuffle that I just used designer series paper for. You really can flip them around and pick whichever one you like. Here I tried the Cajun Craze coloring, so you know, it was just so much fun to play with. All right, I wonder if you have a favorite so far. We'll have to bring them all out at the end, but I have one more set to show you. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just put together one of these fun little card holders, because it's also one of the things you can get on the weekly deals. This was also something you could get during August for celebration, so you may have picked this as your free item, and the picture of it's so boring. I just wanted to give you some ideas for using them, because I think that there's a lot that you can do with it. But let's go back to my friend Claudia's card and this technique right here where she used all those beautiful paper strips. And so I picked out the Glimmer paper strips, and I'm just going to give you just a quick little taste of this very easy thing you can do to add a little excitement. I'm not even going to fill up the whole thing here. Well, that's dumb. Let's changed my mind. Let's take a whole sheet because that would be wasting. So let's not do that. Let's start with a bigger sheet. That way we can use all of it. So all we're going to do is just glue these next to each other. And then we'll be able to use it to cut out, and you'll get this really cool effect of multicolored. So these are the 5 new in colors. You can get a whole package of glimmer paper of these 5 colors. If you've forgotten that you purchased my in color kit when the catalog came out, you've got all of these glimmer papers in your kit, so don't forget you have them. And it doesn't take a lot of them. A little strip of this glimmer paper on a card is gorgeous. And in this case, you know, Claudia used the glimmer paper for the insides of the flowers, and it's just, and for the words, but it's just enough sparkle to make it so amazing. Boy, it'd probably be really smart if I just did this, huh? Hey, I need to take another sip of coffee. There we go. There we go. Okay. So now I'm just gonna, so there's all 5 colors. I put those beautiful purples together, and then I would just repeat. My colors, or you could do whatever you wanted. Now I have sticky fingers. And then one more. So now I have 2 of every color on there. So there's a lot of room here for me to cut some things out of that. So while that is drying, let's just put that aside for a minute. So this stamp set is called Celebrate with Tags. And it is in the mini catalog. It's probably one you've looked over. So let me find it. It's on page 67. It is bundled with a set of dies that make tags. And I'm a tag girl, so this really popped into my sight right away. So you've got 2 dies that make amazing 2-sided tags, or you can cut these at the seam and get single layer tags. And then there's all of these pieces that again take you through the season. So you've got birthday, you've got winter, a mitten, a snowflake, a heart, and then you have some labels that you can use, and a circle. There's a circle. That's what I was going to cut. So I'm going to use a circle. And so what I've done is I cut out this tag here, and I just cut it apart so that I would have a single tag, and that's what we're going to put on our box. Okay, so we need the to and from. I must be completely outthinking myself here. Apparently so. So I was going to put to and from on here, but it looks like I already took it out and put it on a block and then have lost it. So we'll see if it if it pops back into view here. But I was going to take, this fun little background stamp here and just add a little bit of texture to the box. So I'm going to pick the Starry Sky, and we'll just do a few of these little around the edges. Don't you hate it when you lose things? Okay. And then on our tag, just going to put a couple real lightly. So now what you can do with this fun piece of paper you've created is you can just cut out all kinds of die cuts, or I don't think punches would work. It's pretty thick. And so in the cards you're going to see in a minute, I did the heart and the balloon and the mitten and all of that. But we're going to use the circle and just create a fun little accent. So now we've got a little stitched circle. And what I was going to do is stamp to and from on here. So when I find it, I will. And then I was going to just kind of glue half of the circle on. I think I want it this way. Just to get some little half circles. I think when you'll see the cards, you'll see why this tag looks like this. Okay, so we'll put this one down here. We'll leave room for our to and from when we find that. So let's put this box together. All you need is adhesive on the little tabs. I thought this would be perfect to give away this set of cards that I made. So the tabs fold in. I used tear tape for my adhesive because it's strong for boxes. And then we've got this one. And this one. Like that. And so now you've got this adorable little box. That folds together. And our tag is what's going to go around. So I thought it would be good to use this fun threaded twine. It's got a little bit of silver, a little sparkle in it, and it would go along with these. I think I want a little more, along with this glimmer paper. Save all of these little twines because this unrolls and makes the greatest little layering embellishments to put under your focal points. It comes apart really nicely and just makes this great little accent piece. So we'll just rough up those edges. All right, so there is our tag without the to from, which apparently is just not, it's not gonna happen. And here are the cards that I made. They're all done. I used all the pieces that I could from this die set, and I made all different seasons of cards. And they each have a little bit of that accent. Aren't those bright and happy? And all thanks to this little card I got. Made me have to try this technique with the glimmer paper. So now that you could put these in and give them as a little gift because they're all different. All different. All right. Now I have, I've completed our journey, our stack, cut, and shuffle journey. So let's just bring them all out here. Think about the papers that you have, right? Think about the papers you have. Even if you only have 2 pieces that you want to coordinate together, add cardstock, do some stamping, do some embossing, and come up with your own stack, cut, and shuffle kind of idea. I don't know if you can see them all. I'm pretty zoomed in. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better. Do you guys have a very favorite? I know Nydia said she liked the best, this one, the best wishes. The cottage rose, yes, the cottage rose. I'm still a little partial to this apple because it's so bright and cheery, but after I made these last night, I was really digging the in colors. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being with me this morning. Go enjoy the rest of your day. If you're watching this on the replay later, please leave me a comment and chat with me about these cards. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.